Next on Rugby Wrap-Up's MLR Weekly, the number one pick in Major League Rugby's draft, Will Sherman of UCLA, the College Rugby Show's Pat Clifton, John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning, and Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News. Rugby Wrap-Up's MLR Weekly brought to you by Sheehy Auto Stores. It's easy at Sheehy, the Pig and Whistle, New York City, the world's best rugby pub, and Lean and Limber, stretching your way to a healthier lifestyle.
There is a massive responsibility on the 23 that are privileged enough to step out on that field today.
Let's get it all started with Rugby Morning's Coffee Break with John Fitzpatrick, calling in from what? Not Washington, D.C., but the greater Los Angeles area. John, welcome back to MLR Weekly. How are you?
Freddie Freeman beat the Mets. What's up, bud? How you doing?
Really?
Yeah, I went
Aren't
there. I'm not even a Dodgers fan, but I went there.
You're no longer the Nats-Orioles guy?
Oh, man, Nats for life.
They've only been around 5 years. What do you mean? That's not like you... That's ridiculous.
They won a World Series, man. Come on. Can't take that away.
Go Kraken. Go Kraken. What are you kidding? All right, let's shift it to rugby, the bigger ball. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Matt. What the heck is going on? To steal a phrase from Jerry Seinfeld, what the hell is going on with USA Rugby? Both men and women. Let's start with the men. I mean, I know this is a couple of weeks ago, and I'm already still getting fired up about it, but what was that match against Canada? Everything on the line. Everyone knows what a result a W would have meant for the program in the March 2027 Rugby World Cup. And I understand it was in Canada, but we went up there and just couldn't make a line out. Some questionable lineup decisions. Matt McCarthy, you're no genius, but you could have figured something out, right?
Right. I would have tried to figure out how to stop Tyler effing Ardron. More tries, disrupting the line. You named the lineouts. That was Tyler and Olmstead right in the middle of all of it. And they won. They conquered. They crushed the hearts of American rugby fans and then went back to D2 in France. It was just, hi, guys, we're going to destroy you and your hopes of the World Cup and leave. And that was exactly what they did. And we had nobody to answer that. And, Bryan and I talked about this a lot last week. There are no 6'8" guys, no tree trunks in our locks. And we had two guys that were playing in the back row, playing as locks for us in this match. We lost the set pieces. We got destroyed basically everywhere. They outplayed us. There's no, the lineup was wacky as far as I'm concerned. I did mouth off last week about Connor Buckley not even being on the roster. He's on the roster now. So who knows if we're being heard or it's just coincidence. I don't care. As Harry Truman said, it's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit.
Okay, so, all right. So we've got Japan.
Rough times for men's. We're going to miss the World Cup again.
Pump the brakes, because maybe pump the brakes. Obviously, amongst all the doom and gloom, there's obviously still a chance for them to qualify for Rugby World Cup 2027. They just can't finish last in the PNC. But before we get there, Matt, they got Japan this weekend. Given what happened against Canada, what are your expectations? What do you want to see out of the guys?
Well,
in this next 80 minutes against Japan and your boy Eddie Jones.
What I want to see is I want to see them win, but they're not going to win because there's a guy named Eddie Jones who wants to come over and conquer America. He wants to absolutely destroy us. So he's going to bring a great team. He's going to bring a very well-coached team from a coach that's very well experienced on the world stage and in professional rugby. So we're going to lose. We're going to lose significantly. I hope they can keep it close. I hope they can maybe, I don't see them getting 4 tries. If they can get 4 tries, that's a bonus point. Can they keep it within 7? No, I don't think so. So, anything, if they could scrape a point out of this somehow, I think that's a huge success for them at this point with what's going on.
We'll probably see a couple players rotate back in, guys who maybe are out because of injury or because personnel stuff going on. So puncher's chance they can get those 4 tries, but I think we're all waiting around for B3 versus A3 essentially in the final match of the Pacific Nations Cup. Will determine whether or not we have to go through the final qualification tournament. I hope we don't have to get through that nonsense.
That would be
again,
horrible.
man. I really don't.
Chile and Uruguay, or no, one of those are in there, right? And they're going to beat us, or giving us fits. But how about the women?
Yes, let's talk women right quick, because that 31-31 draw, gosh, draws kill me, but that 31-31 draw against Australia, probably the most exciting match of the Rugby World Cup so far. Back and forth, but man, missed opportunity, right? Like, that win was there for the taking. A couple of points off the tee, maybe here and there, a couple of just miscues here. And, man, the ball falls off the tee, and the failure to get real meters and kicking the ball down the field is just like, I don't want to pin it all in the kicking game, but
the big part of it, that and knock-ons.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It was rainy a little bit there, but
John,
the rivalry between them.
How bad could it have been when you score 62 points? Right? I mean, you're not score if the ball is slick and that's the excuse, or the ball is wet and that's the excuse. The two teams aren't putting up 31 points each, but a great event for the game, on the whole, and it's specifically for the women's game. I mean, they're playing in front of great crowds. That was an electric game to watch, up and down, heartache. You just think one's dead, one's alive, and it flips the script. It was just great, and across the board, you have great stories in the Women's Rugby World Cup, and I'm tuning in. I'm not missing any of it. So there's that, right? So that sets up this final match in pool play to determine whether or not the USA Women's Eagle can get to the quarterfinals. Well, they're more than likely probably going to take on Canada, who are humming right along. But that means USA needs to absolutely just crush for Samoa, essentially, at this point, right? They're chasing, 135-point differential from Australia here. So Australia's taking on England. England could take Australia and put a whooping on them, but maybe they rotate a couple of players. But it starts with the Women's Eagles first. That their match against Samoa is the first one. Matt, they've got to put 70, 80 points up, right? Like, anything less than that, and I don't know if they've got a chance here. So, like, at minimum, England's going to win by 90 points, and Team USA is going to win by 45.
If that happens, then they're in, and man, what a miracle that would be. Because 135 points, I mean, they basically need to put a little ticker or a little thing up on there so we can have an understanding of what they're chasing, what they're looking at. But yeah, they've got to score 60 points.
It's called math, John. It's called math.
Well, you know what? I failed at it. I flunked 3rd grade, so
pretty basic. It's pretty basic math, John. It's really pretty basic math.
I'm no John Nash here, but I feel like if we score more points, but it's. Ooh.
Why don't you stop smoking so much weed out there? What else you got for us?
Yeah, man, I know you've got the 2025 MLR first overall draft pick from the Anthem. You're interviewing Will Sherman coming up. I need you to ask him, since he played in around the LA area, if he's a fan of In-N-Out Burger.
Oh boy, you ought to be a writer. You ought to be a sports writer and come up with these riveting questions for number 1 draft choices in a professional sport. That's good.
Where's my bong? I can't find my surfboard.
All right, well, thanks to John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning in Los Angeles. We'll be right back after this.
Digs like a demented mole there.
Need a great price on a new vehicle? Sheehy makes it easy. Easy Price shows you our lowest prices on the Mid-Atlantic's largest selection. Find your best price online or at any of our 31 dealerships.
It's easy at Sheehy. Sheehy.com.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
And we are back, welcoming for the first time William Sherman, the number 1 draft choice in the 2025 Major League Rugby Draft out of the University of California. Welcome to MLR Weekly.
Thanks, Matt. Super happy to be here. Thanks for getting me out.
All right, so Will, it's 10 p.m. your time, it's 8 a.m. my time, but we do this in rugby, right? We make it happen, we make it all work. But you're in Oz, Australia, where women glow and men plunder. What brought you down there, Will?
Just chasing the dream, chasing the rugby, the sunshine. Yeah, I'm down here playing for Randwick at the moment. Their season actually just finished, but came down here for a little bit of extra rugby. Graduated in June, so tried to kind of figure out how to fill up my schedule and had some connections. My university coach Harry Bennett is Australian, so he helped get me down here, pulled some strings, and then yeah, I've just really enjoyed it. I've been here about 5 weeks now, and I'm just loving it. Yeah.
You're living the life of Riley, which is pretty cool. You graduate from UCLA. You're before the MLR draft is happening. You go down with the under 23s on a tour of South Africa, where you became vice captain. You're down playing in the Shute Shield for Randwick, right? So now you've got this international exposure. And you can see that, out of college, players are bigger, stronger, faster, right? So
Right.
where do you see yourself lining up? Do you see yourself staying at lock? Do you see yourself dropping a back row? What do you think?
In the last few years, I've been told I've been a little bit short for lock. I mean, 6'5" is right on the edge for a lot of teams. And I think kind of the way the game's going is you see like locks are becoming a little bit shorter. I'd say a more dynamic lock. But I'd like to say that I have the versatility to play back row, usually 6. So I think it's nice, and it helps me as a player that I'm able to kind of slot into both positions. So
You've done well down there. I'm just looking at some of your stats. You had one match where you had 36 tackles. I mean, that's busy, and you were playing lock, right?
yeah, I mean, I think a strength of mine is trying to just have a high work rate, and that's traditionally a key attribute of a lock, of a second row, is just being everywhere on the field, just working hard. You're not doing the highlight reel stuff, but you're in the trenches and you're putting your head down, and I love that part of the game, and I'm happy to buy into that, and I had the opportunity when I played that game, and it worked out for me.
So you've had this success down in Australia. What you might be tempted with the choice of staying in the Shute Shield or playing Major League Rugby. Have you reached a decision on that yet?
Right, it's a big conversation, and it's something that I've struggled with, but I'm thinking that the MLR is the right step for me, and I was a little bit worried that it would be a big jump from going from college to the MLR, but I'm pretty confident that I have had the exposure and the experience playing high-level rugby, and I think that I'll be able to fit into that environment and fully immerse myself in a professional environment. And I think I'll be able to step up to the plate, and I love the challenge and the opportunity that brings with it. And so I'm thinking probably a season of MLR, and then fortunately I could still come back down to Oz for the second half of the Shute Shield season. So that's just adding another 8 or 9 games on my year, and just continuing my development.
Let's skip a little bit back to your bio.
Yeah. So born and raised Salt Lake City, Utah. Lived there my whole life, and decided I was ready for a change of pace. Maybe a little bit of a break from the snow as well. So thought SoCal would be a good move, and ended up loving it.
How did you start playing rugby?
My dad, was my first coach, and he played in college. He played at Berkeley for 2 years, and then played at BYU in Utah for 2 years. And it's pretty funny actually. He discovered rugby when he was down here in Australia when he was about 14 or 15, and it's a bit of a full circle moment being back here where he picked up the game. So I mean, if he had never come here, then there's a decent chance it would have never gotten into our family.
Any one player that you liked growing up?
Well, I mean, I've always loved Evan Etzebeth. Him and Sam Whitelock are just like the definition of rugby players in my mind. Like, just watching those guys growing up are just they just dominate their position like nobody else. And they've been doing it for so long. I mean, it's just, incredible.
Crazy.
Etzebeth is just amazing to watch.
Who's the best player you went up against in college?
Ever? I mean, my freshman year, I did play against Sam Galla. And, I was like a skinny, kid out of high school, and I have Sam Galla and his second row partner Max Murphy running up against me, and I was like, welcome to college. This is what my life is going to be like now. I need to, that's kind of where I flipped the switch, and I was like, I need to, take this more seriously. I need to get in the gym. I need to eat more. And, that's kind of what sparked a fire in me to be like, you know what, I'm going to compete with these guys, and I want to be at that level. So
you see there with the Eagles, how much does that mean to you to get to be with Team USA?
It means everything. That's the reason why I get out of bed in the morning. Each day I'm just working towards that goal, and I want to play in a World Cup for my country, and I'll do whatever it takes to get there.
Great answer, and that's a great way to end this conversation. Thank you, sir, for getting up and jumping through the hoops to come on with us.
You bet. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for getting up nice and early for me, Matt.
All right, Mr. William Tank Sherman, trademark. We'll be right back after this. You need your cleats? You need them tomorrow? If you order today by 3 p.m. New York time or noon LA time, they can have them to you tomorrow. Young, old, male, female, if you're playing on turf, if you're playing on grass, if you're playing in the rain, you're playing in the heat, they've got you covered. RugbyNow.com. Go there now. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for a new segment that we're installing, the College Rugby Corner with Pat Clifton from the College Rugby Show. Pat, welcome to MLR Weekly.
Welcome. It's my pleasure to be here, and I love the scenery here, just overlooking your kingdom that is New York City, and I've got like Alex Corbizero over your shoulder. This is fantastic.
It's just my Sky Crib studio, here in the New York City, and I'm going to refer to this as the New York City, as you are the Pat Clifton.
Oh man, what a guy! This is a great time to be alive, and college rugby season. I'm coaching men's club rugby still, and we got our first practice tonight. So rugby season in general is back, and it's a good time to be alive.
Sweet. All right. So before we get to what you're doing with the rugby show, people out there on Reddit are ready to bash us because we're talking college on a Major League Rugby show, and the simple answer is they are the future stars of the MLR the way it's going. And if you don't like it, it was Pat's idea. Before we get started, you just passed Will Sherman, the number 1 pick in the Major League Rugby 2025 draft. So now this is as good as any to test you, as per what Will and I discussed in a Sheehy Auto Stores pop quiz. Pat, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm going to be terrible, but let's do it.
Who was the number 1 pick in the 2021 Major League Rugby draft?
We're going to go with Tavita Lepetti.
Oh, sorry, Pat. You lost the keys to a brand new Taekwon Volkswagen from Sheehy Auto Stores. And boy, am I happy that you didn't know the answer to that question. It was Eric Napowski of
UCLA. Go Bruins.
UCLA.
I should have got the connection, the Will Sherman connection. I don't.
Let's cut to present. How about your view from a 30,000 feet overall perspective on the MLR draft, and then more specifically from that of the NCR, National Collegiate Rugby?
Well, I didn't think the Jackals had a very good draft this year. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, that was honestly, the fact that we had a draft was the most thing to be celebrated, right? If you're swimming around on the internet looking at the comments like I was the week of, there was a lot of dark days leading up to the draft. And I think the fact that we had another one.
Miami and NOLA, of course, going out.
Right, exactly. Losing 2 teams and people wondering if this is still going to be a viable league and what the investment and interest was to keep it going. For them to put on a really great draft production and to bring more players into the fold, I think that was the positive. That's my overall takeaway. Is I'm freaking stoked that we had another Major League Rugby draft, and I thought it looked great, and they did a great job. The set looked awesome. Will and Alex and Alex Goff as well, and my old everybody did a great job. So I thought it was really cool, and big meaty guys seem to be what goes high and is high.
Beef. We need the beef. We watched that in the loss against Canada. Jason Dom and Marno Ringlingheiss are good, solid, big guys, but they're more back row players. They're not 4 and 5, and you're seeing that happen for the Eagles now. It's being exposed a bit, but
I mean, Jason Dom, even in his collegiate rugby days at Clemson, was playing in the back row. Wasn't even, usually you'd see a guy who was big enough to be an international back row. He was probably playing second row or 8, because we in America love that big thundering number 8. But you usually don't go up further in the pack the higher you go into international rugby, at least not size-wise. And so, I think you're spot on. And Jason Dom is a guy who probably belongs in the back row.
Ironically, the trees don't grow on trees.
That's true. That's it.
We don't have the 6'8" and the 6'7" and the 6'9" that are on that international stage at that size. But that doesn't explain the loss to Canada, and it's a whole different show. I keep saying it over and over again. Tyler Ardron. Do you have a player that maybe didn't make the draft that you'd say, okay, you missed this guy, get him?
Skimming through because the thing about the draft is it's not every player in the world. Like, there's a list of players that are eligible, right? So you can see who actually put themselves up and who's being considered for the draft. And skimming through that list, one guy was Alex Nyamunda, the Wheeling center. This kid is the real deal, not just as a player on the field, but like as a locker room guy off the field and as a leader. I have been so impressed when I've watched him leading the songs, the sing-alongs right before they take the field. He's just such a beast. And when they went up against Aaron Juma in that kind of blood rival match, because Aaron had that somewhat controversial transfer midseason to Mary Washington. They went up against each other in the CRC. It was really Alex, I thought, who brought the shoulders and brought the physicality and met Aaron, front foot, because Aaron is a bull. Yeah. And to me, Alex is out there, and anybody who has his phone number should use it, because he is a fantastic player.
Well, let me ask you this. Where's he from?
Zimbabwe.
All right. Is he a domestic qualified player or international? Because that's a big reason why he's probably
sure. That's definitely in the mix. But when I look up and down these Major League Rugby team lists week in and week out, I see plenty of international guys, and I know that those spots are harder to come by. But man, this kid's got a lot of value, so I would really look at him either way.
All right. So, what team should we look out for, or give me a team or two that we should look out for this season?
Well, look, Brown is the defending champs in NCR Men's Division I. I think that they are the team to beat, obviously there. Dave LaFlamme, and they've got Eddie O'Sullivan as their assistant coach. I mean, what MLR coaching staff wouldn't take Eddie O'Sullivan right now off that Brown Bears staff?
Former head coach of Ireland, if you didn't know it at home.
Yep. Yeah. Fantastic. So, and on the British and Irish line staff as well. So he's, I think Brown is the team to beat. Wheeling looks really good. Another one of those Zimbabweans, Taku Musangwini, was just in the Africa Cup, helping Zimbabwe qualify for their first World Cup since the second one, like 31 years ago or whatever it's been. So he was helping them win the Africa Cup this summer, and he is transferring from Iowa Central, a 2-year school, over to Wheeling. And with that kind of skill at playmaker, I think the Cardinals could be, a real contender too in NCR Division I. NCR D1 AA, you got Kentucky. You get some really good back row players there like Holden Hahn and Gage Curry. So, I think Kentucky is they're going for a three-peat. They're the team to beat. So those are kind of in the top levels in the NCR side. That's who I think it is. Cal, if you're going to look at the CRA end of things, Cal is a team to beat, obviously, is a returning champ, and also coaching staffs that anybody would love to rob. They're pretty rich there in Strawberry Canyon as well.
All right. And Pat, final question. Will we see one unified championship in the different divisions in our lifetime on the college rugby landscape?
Yeah, I think so. I really do. It's been a while. You and I have seen it before, but it's been some time. And I do think that we'll see it. I do. I think that every year we get a little bit closer. And I don't know anybody in college rugby that isn't for it and doesn't want it. So I think that it's only going to continue to make more and more sense as time marches on for that to happen. And so I think that, yes, gun to my head, make my prediction. I think that will happen while we're still alive.
And on that note, we're going to end this first installment of the College Rugby Corner with Pat Clifton of the College Rugby Show, which we are very excited about seeing, Pat.
Very excited to be here, Matt. Thanks for having me, dude. This is awesome.
All right, we'll be right back with Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News and all things Canada and MLR after this.
This is the Rugby Odds, where an unlikely pundit panel of a wordsmith, a WWE legend, a rugby star, and a supermodel
scour the globe, seeking best bets and bad behavior. Are you not entertained?
And we are back with Mr. Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News / Ray's Rugby. Bryan, you look a little grumpy. It looks like you're feeling the wear and tear of Team Canada, and specifically the men in the Pacific Nations Cup, because they got absolutely destroyed by Eddie Jones and Japan in the second half, as I predicted.
Yeah, well, we expected them to dip a little with no Tyler Ardron and Evan Olmstead. They hung in there for 50-odd minutes, but, to be honest, pretty disappointed with that.
Let's turn the page to the ladies and the Rugby World Cup.
Priority has to be given to the Women's Eagles this week.
Thank you.
I really, which is why we've got the Anthem lineup back here. I really didn't think they were going to beat Australia. Australia was clearly the better side when they played in the Pacific Four. And with about 15 minutes to go, I think Australia was up, 9-10 points. I thought they were going to run away with it. So kudos to the Eagles for sticking with it. I thought they played with tremendous heart in that game. Rogers and Sagapola, the two front rowers, 80-minute performers. I think Trader, the hooker as well, all three of them superb from the front row. Frida Tafuna made the team of the week. I thought she was outstanding and is growing in stature with every game. So kudos to them. Well done. Keeping it alive again. They got to get some points now against Samoa, and they got to hope England really runs up the score against Australia. But it's a chance.
If the planets align and that math works out, and I think Team USA has to beat Samoa by 70 points. I think the total is 135 points. That has to be made up between England winning by a margin and Team USA winning by a margin, right? So you could do the math on that. It's a lot to ask. But if that happens, would that be the equivalent of the bronze medal last play of the game, them winning that in the 15s program?
Jeez, it would be some accomplishment to reach those quarterfinals. What to say? It's not impossible. I mean, look, England really put a lot of points on the USA in that opener, and Samoa got whipped in both games they played. So it's not out of the question that they could overturn that points differential. But they're just going to have to bring their A game and spin to win, get it into the hands of their wingers.
Bryan, final thoughts.
The Canadian team 42-0 over Wales, which looks great. And to be honest, I think they had a slow start in that one. They could have got quite a bit more. Scotland, the last speed bump on the way to clearly topping that pool. So things are looking good for my Canadian team. I'm sure they'll be into the semifinals after the quarters. But some great rugby being played at that tournament, and it's great to see. Great turnouts at the crowd. So here we go. We're still lots to go in that tournament. It's been fun to watch.
And on that note, thanks to Mr. Bryan Ray of America's Rugby News and Ray's Rugby, John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning, Will Sherman, now of the Carolina Anthem, and Pat Clifton of the College Rugby Show. And thank you for tuning in. Please check out the Rugby Odds. It's great this week. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube and sign up for our weekly newsletter. And please join our American Red Cross blood donor team.